they're being controlled by the likes of Gear, the Hofstadts and Merkel and Macron, and they're puppets to the EU. The everyday, yes. The SNP, yes, the SNP. But the
recording, by the way. Carry on, sir. With us, we have Haggis Hero. He's going to be telling us a little bit about the state of affairs in Scotland recently. So they're paid to be traitors to their nation, is the essential overarching point that we must remember in the long-term scale. They are paid a lot of money to be traitors to their people. Yes? To represent European interests rather than Scottish interests.
That is their priority. That is their priority. Everything is the main drive for Sturgeon during the general election in the 2019 December was not about Scottish welfare, Scottish jobs, and Scottish independence in terms of the what it's going to do for the sake of the nation. The main drive for her her Scottish independence was the fact that Scotland remain part of the European Union. That means that she is cucked by the EU. That means she is paid by the EU, and there's evidence in the past to suggest that this is the case.
Have they infiltrated to a massive extent the education systems in Scotland?
I don't know firsthand on the police, definitely. Around about 2013, I believe it was, 2013, Nicola Sturgeon she amalgamated all the police forces. So back in the day, pre 2013, you had Strathclyde and Clydeside Constabulary. You had Lothian and Borders. You had Central Police. You had Northern Constabulary, and you had various constabularies.
Regional defence forces that are related to the local council or something.
Precisely, sir. And when 2013, well, it was Nicola Sturgeon's, it was Salmon's, because Salmon was in power, I think, at that time. Salmon integrated, through the help of the Sturgeons and the rest of the SNP, integrated the Scottish police force into one major police force. Now, I have first-hand experience on how this became a monumental fuck-up for Scotland and affected safety. I don't know if I should say, but I worked within the Her Majesty's Coast Guard, and various incidents that happened on the coast. We needed the assistance for police in aiding in searches for missed pearls and people that were that fallen off cliffs, etc., etc. And when you phoned up the main control room, right, you got through to a centralized operations control room, which I think is in Stirling, and they had no local knowledge of the area that you were talking about. Thus, it affected search and rescue response, and thus cost lives. There was a famous case where another incident, nothing to do with the coastal related, where a car was driving on the A9. It came off the road. The two occupants were trapped inside. They phoned up for police, emergency police assistance. They got through to a central control room, which then directed the officers, but they directed the wrong officers in the wrong area, and the couple spent 24 hours there, and called again. I believe it was 24 hours. They called again, and they sent another car or squad car or whatever it was, and the occupants were never found because the controller sent them to the wrong area yet again. It turned out these couple were only discovered 3 days after, and they had died. They had died as a result. Now this is the point in case that the centralization of the
when did Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP completely change the police force and centralize it all?
It was around about 2013 or 2012 or 2013.
Right.
It became known as Police Scotland, which is now the largest police force in the United Kingdom. The second largest is obviously being Metropolitan Police.
I see.
So this has consequences, and another thing that's happening, quite local to me, they're closing all the police stations, which has been happening since the 80s, right? However, one of the things that has happened is they closed the stations, and they put them into the civic community centres, which are local government run. So my local police force is now located in the same building as the court, which used to be known as the sheriff court, right? And the council offices. So the councillors and the police and the court services are all under one roof. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, extreme centralization of authority. Apparently.
Exactly. And this is happening in my local town. I would give you the location, but however.
Yeah, there's no need for such. But we're
Yeah.
aware of cases of savage criminality from the left. If they lose England, then they're all relocating to Scotland and to Northern Ireland in order to stir up trouble, it appears. So
Yes,
we'll see.
and that's already been happening. Many years ago, 2 years ago, and you're aware of this, I infiltrated Antifa on behalf of the veterans community, and during my month-long infiltration, I became privy to their knowledge and their plans. And one of their plans is to integrate, to get influence from the Irish community, the former IRA community, right? There's direct links with Antifa and the IRA in Scotland. Yes, and I can only think that this is occurring also in Northern Ireland. I've not had evidence. We still, there is people, veterans that are in infiltration roles as we speak within Antifa, gathering information. The information will not be released until it's all corroborated and gathered. The Antifa have direct links with the likes of the IRA and Angler, which is a offshoot of the IRA. And there is talk from with Antifa, my local Antifa. There's talk of bringing in the muscle boys of Antifa to stir up shit. Now, if you look at the SNP are also pro-Irish nationalism. So there's connection here. There is connection there.
Well, they're calling in all of their allies that they can, it appears, but we have a very, very strong Conservative majority in Britain for the next 5 years. And this has echoed among their tacticians to the point where they're trying to cause trouble at at the outermost areas of Britain, where they'll be less affected, and they already have strongholds when it comes to the media and political machines that operate in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
The another interesting thing as well that's occurring is there is white flight from the inner city areas of London, because you can sell your pokey
Is that being
flats.
noticed in Scotland, sir?
Indeed,
Hmm.
indeed. Um, you can sell your pokey flats, two bedroom, if that, flats at a cost of what, 1.5 million in London, and you can buy a 5 bedroom um, um, off the grid estate with a couple of acres for the same price. You know,
Hmm.
and this is happening, and and the reasons that you see this happening is so this could actually work in Scotland's favour, right? Because when you converse with these people, some of the reasons that they give you, they say that London isn't London anymore. It doesn't feel like London. Everything's too expensive. There's a lot more crime and blah blah blah. They're not saying it directly. It's because of the migration problem. What they're saying is they're noticing it, but will not say it. But we're rich, and we're disappearing from that lifestyle because of that threat, the migration problem, for example, and they're establishing it here. They're establishing themselves here. Now, when you hear them, the same people wanting um, migration, you must think to yourself: are you really? Do you really believe in? Do you really believe that, or are you just saying that as because it's the trending narrative? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It's a case of people parroting everything that they see immediately in front of them without any degree of agency. And whenever anything is undecided, you have factions coming out and being boisterous and facetious and condescending, etc. But they're like cornered rats going for the eyes and the throat presently. The Conservatives have a massive majority in Parliament. The left have no influence in there anymore or political leverage. Brexit is proceeding unimpeded. The Eurocrats can't form a budget for the new decade after our departure. And we have indeed a very bright future ahead of us. There will be bumps in the way, but here's hoping that the globalists cock it up so much in their efforts to. They're going to give in eventually to savage criminality to get their way. And when that happens, they'll be found, caught out, and will be victorious.
Absolutely, and I think that the interesting times will be, in a Scottish perspective, the interesting times will occur after the Brexit. We'll get to see their true colours then. I think there may be some political skullduggery. I mean, the best thing that Sir Boris Johnson can do, the best thing he could do is annul the Scottish Parliament, close it down,
Hmm.
because they're with that current with the current um,
Happenings.
leadership, yeah, the happenings and the leadership, um, it's not conducive.
Secessionist. They're
Yeah,
openly secessionist globalists.
yeah,
Let's have it completely straight. They're openly secessionist globalists paid to be traitors to their nation's interests.
absolutely. And I personally don't think that a majority of Scottish people want independence to be then put in under the European Union regime. I personally don't think that's happening. There's a lot of people that are afraid to say, because the left do hold the narrative up here, but I think there's a lot more that are just under the radar.
Kind of job.
Silent majority. That's it. They're under the radar. They're just waiting for the opportunity. I mean, at the end of the day, the results speak for themselves, as I read out earlier. The results speak for themselves.
How far can the SNP and the traitorous bitch that leads them, how far do you think that they can go with their secessionist plans and policies? Like, what do you think is going to be the boiling tipping point, if any?
Well, like I say, after Brexit, things will start to rear their ugly head, and it'll probably be some sort of deal or something with the USA, because and Japan, it'll probably be something like that. That will be the tipping point, the catalyst for them to preach their the European Union bullshit. We can see that on the horizon, because a lot of the SNP are anti-Trump. That's a fact already. They're anti-Trump.
I see. So, how bright is the future of Scotland after Brexit, eh? Massive fisheries industry.
Well, actually,
reclaimed. All of it should be getting... Listen, the Scottish will want to sell out the fisheries in Scotland completely to the EU. Bastards.
Exactly. But this has been occurring since what, the 78, 79. But it's been happening. Our fisheries are being gradually fucking uncontrolled. Now, and the good thing is that a lot of people in Peterhead voted Tory, right? A lot of people in Peterhead voted to leave the European Union. Now, Peterhead is, you could say, the hub of the fisheries in Scotland. The trawlers go out as far as just off the Norwegian coastline and up towards not far off Iceland. That's the we call it the patch, call it their patch. And fisheries were heavily affected under the European Union, and there's a lot of skippers, fishing trawling skippers that are bewildered. They had to sell the vessels because the quotas that they were catching meant it wasn't even covering the cost of the fuel. Now, I worked on a fishing trawler back in the day, and you don't get paid if the vessel doesn't make any profit. You don't get paid, and if it makes a small profit, you get a percentage of that profit after the costs. Yeah, after the cost of running the vessel and all that sort of stuff. And there's guys that have worked 16-hour days for 2 weeks solid, and they've got half of what minimum wage is, if that. you know, because of EU quotas. And a lot of people just turned their back on the fishing industry. Why? Because that was the EU's plan. Because what you have now is you have these factory vessels, and I'm talking factory vessels where they gut, they package, they breadcrumb these the fish, the places, and they package them there and then on the vessel. What's that company? That's Norwegian company. That's I'll have to Google it. A Norwegian company that does it. But there's also other European vessels that do the same.
So a lot of trawling natural resources is going on, and I want the British Navy out, patrolling our waters, ensuring that smugglers don't get across the channel.
Absolutely.
It's very simple. You either have a nation that has a border, or you don't have a nation at all, and your lands are open to invasion. Part of the social contract that you sign with the government is that if you pay taxes, you pay the military, and the military is supposed to maintain the nation's interests. And when they don't do that, and human smugglers through non-government organizations are running amok, that needs to be looked at immediately.
Absolutely, and the first degradation of how this occurred was they took the rights of. I mean, the Royal Navy back in the day used to have fishery protection vessels. They had quite a few vessels, and they would go out and patrol the areas. But now, what they're doing, what the Royal Navy are doing, they're infiltrating. Sorry, not infiltrating. They're what's the word? Basically, they're stopping the UK fishing vessels to make sure that they're adhering to EU quota. Now that's bullshit. The Royal Navy shouldn't be doing that. They should be protecting fisheries. They should be protecting our fishery grounds, not whether someone is, 2 boxes too many.
That's going to cause quite the kerfuffle going into the immediate future.
And a lot of the fishery vessels were gradually reduced over time, and you could actually say the same as the Her Majesty's Coast Guard as well, which it lost the right back in the 70s, 80s, 70s to have their own patrol vessels, and they then became under the command of at the time, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMRC, and then then changed again over the years to the UK Border Force. Now, what vessels that the UK Coast Guard used to have doing that sort of protecting the coast are now in the hands of the UK Border Force. It's a completely different entity, and the Coast Guard absolutely have no control of protecting the coast whatsoever. It's not like the US Coast Guard. The US Coast Guard, they have a more militaristic type approach in their Coast Guard. We do not. The UK Coast Guard is search and rescue and vessel regulation only. And that's thanks to the EU. That's thanks to the EU.
It's going to take a long, long while to unfuck EU policy, to unfuck ourselves from EU policies that are detrimental to our nation actively.
Yep, absolutely. And the first start would be with the fisheries, allowing the fishing grounds to be fished by our vessels and our vessels only. I believe people in the Fisher Trawlermen in Devon have the same problem. I'm not familiar with the area as much, but I understand that they have the same problem, if not worse, because the close proximity with the with the French. But the Scottish trawlermen are facing quite a lot of Icelandic trawlermen fishing their grounds. Icelandic and Germans. There seems to be a lot of German and Dutch as well. Hold on, I'll be back. I need to fill up my vape.